Mr. James Scarlett, is that a wee cheeky drink I see there, sir?
It is, sir. This is
Mate,
my first time.
it is. You've always got a wee glass, a wee jug of water with you, and I'm sitting here like an alky. We drunkenly go again.
Cheers.
let's have a fun Q&A, mate. These are slowly becoming one of my favourite parts of the podcast as well now.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's actually easier for us because you haven't got to think. You just got to answer questions rather than like preparing.
And the first one we put out, and I said at the time, it was just called Q&A. And we always knew it was just going to be a wee bonus at the end of the month, whatever the pod came out that week. And it didn't do the same downloads as the rest of the episodes, and I never expected it to. Then we added like a title to it. And the second one came out, and we added the title, Why Was OPEF's set cut short? That came out the same day as the Arc Tangent Clash Finder and fucking blew it out the water. I mean, it was like one of the
Yeah.
most successful pods we've ever done. So maybe the Q&As will become one of the highlights for listeners. Again, we're here to be shaped with whatever you want to hear. But that was a shock to me. I was like, Jesus Christ, the Q&A, as long as you tell people what they're going to be listening to, they're really pretty successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to that when we were thinking about like what should we talk about, we got a new podcast, what we're going to talk about. There's some questions that we're going to do today where I'm like, that's a fucking great idea. I hadn't thought that people would be interested in that.
Some
So,
of the
yeah.
questions are absolutely brilliant. If we could come up with some of the questions that the listeners come up with, we would be fucking made. We would be absolutely
Yeah.
made. So we appreciate that. James's rare post on the Two Promoters One Pod page was a spectacular success, and that's where a lot of these questions have came from. So if you do use Facebook, and I appreciate not everyone does, go and follow that page because it is where we're posting 90%. I mean, we'll use the other socials to let people know when episodes drop, but if you want to actually get involved in have questions answered and shape what we're going to be talking about in future, that's the place to do it.
We're threatening to have our own Instagram account, but I'm unsure whether you're waiting for me to do that.
So I suppose this is the way we look at this. Is a completely private
Let's
conversation.
Let's chat about it in front of the audience.
With James. So I am, as James said before, it was my idea, this podcast, right? And James said at the very start, I don't want more shit in my plate. I don't do that. We've hired teams to do that for 2000 Trees and Arc Tangent. I don't want to then put it back in my plate to have gone to social media and manage accounts and notification button gone 15 times. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to play my role in that. So I started the Facebook page. Now James has got beanies bonnet that we don't have an Instagram, so it's kind of been left at this bit of tension. Right, well, James, you use Instagram more often than I do. You could start the page, and you kind of just sitting here week by week going, is there going to be an Instagram page?
I'm going to do it. It's coming.
It's coming. Bri, you heard it here first, mate. James is taking on the Instagram page,
Amazing.
which would probably be a fucking wild success, but God, I'm pretty useless at social media, and the Instagram is, I mean, I don't even have my own Instagram, so I find that a wee bit more difficult to navigate than the old pensioners on Facebook. So aye, James, lead the way, son.
Okay.
Lead the way.
Let's do it. Chris Stewart says, if you could only choose one food vendor and one food vendor only to carry your festivals food-wise, which food vendor would you choose? Which is a great question. Whenever we put out the food announcement, we did a food announcement for 2000 Trees the other day. People get so excited about it. It's like, it's almost more important than the headliners. It's like, who's coming back? Who's going to be there? I don't know. I mean, I might ask you in a minute who your favorite Arc Tangent food vendor is. If you eat when you're
not enough
drinking 13 pints,
not enough.
You don't strike me as a man who's eating. So I'll go. I wanted to do. He did ask for one only, but I'm going to give honourable mentions to Smoking Hot Tamales, who are RIP. They've gone. Mac Shack. I think what's important to talk about here is that if you're a festival veteran such as me, you start to realise that there are certain types of food that you need at festivals, and basically some stodge amongst the beer is good for you. Keeps you going, gives you another second wind. you don't want to be eating a light salad. You want something that's going to soak up the booze. I mean, I should be a scientist. That's it. There may be no basis for this in science, but I reckon Mac Shack
Is
is
the
the
one.
one. It's quick and it's just gets you going again. If you've got time, Pomerola pizza is amazing. But the winner for me is Susie's. So do you know Susie's?
I don't think I know Susie's.
So Susie is like she's got a van that's on the side of a road in Gloucestershire, like like serving like breakfast baps and chips and burgers and stuff. And she's been coming to our festivals forever, and she's a bit of a legend. And if you're one of the organisers or one of the production team, or everyone knows that you can basically knock on the door on the side of Susie's and sneak around the queue, and she's like my savior. When it's like at festivals it's like dinner time and everywhere's fucking busy,
Robbed. Yes.
and I'm like, I'm going to Susie's.
When we done the podcast at Damnation
Oh no,
versus
that was a Susie's. That was a
exactly.
Susie's.
So that
Yeah,
was when you handed me
I bought
a
you a
much
Susie's.
needed,
Yeah,
very welcome breakfast bap. Was that Susie's?
yeah, I bought you a beer and a Susie's, didn't I? And it was
Yeah,
10
Gav,
a.m.
it's 9:30, mate. Have a pint of beer and a fucking Susie's breakfast wrap. It was lovely. Thank you, Susie. I did need that because I was on my last legs getting into that final day of that tangent last year. I'm a wee bit fearful of the damage we're going to do this year, but I'm going to try and be slightly better behaved and maybe go to bed before 3 a.m. each night. When I went to 2 podcasts last year, I ended up doing three's a magic number as well. So very early starts, very late finishes. That was I needed Susie's. But for your festival, Bunny Chow, is it the Bunny
Yeah.
Chow? That's very popular, isn't it? Right.
Mm.
I had a Bunny Chow watching Chat Pile, and believe me, I went for the hotter option. I probably should have just went for the medium because that was a bunny. It took me a wee while to get to that, so I enjoyed that. Bunny Chow was good. At Damnation, we're still having a bit of a tussle with the venue, to be honest, about food vendors. That place has many a rave with many a fan on many a disco biscuit, and there is not a lot of food gets
Not
sold.
eating.
There is not a lot eating at your sidewinders, your Manchester Adores. I mean, I have been to that venue for many different events and seen 2 sort of old school sloppy burger and chips vans with 7,000 people out into the car park, and both are empty. I mean, it's like 7,000 people not eating for an entire day is kind of what they're used to. And I tried desperately to tell the venue owner that wouldn't be the case at Damnation. Most folk would eat twice. Some folk would eat 3 times or a couple of times in a dessert. Get the food traders in. That clearly didn't happen. And the first year led to a lot of problems. Last year, we had a reduced capacity last year, and it just about got there. I mean, it was enough, but we really need. I'm trying to say, he's like, 8 or 9 vendors. I'm like, no, 15 to 20 vendors if we can fit them on site, because everyone's eating and everyone's eating a couple of times. So please bring the food vendors. They will not be empty. And there's one El Camino. It's a Greek place. Does sort of chicken gyros or gyros and the pita breads, and it does their pizzas. And the place was packed the whole time. Weirdly, because they're not used to working at festivals. All these food traders, the prices are weirdly fucking reasonable. I mean, like some of them, like if you go up and you get a kebab and chips, like £5. You know what I mean?
Pleasure.
Even this guy, when you go and get the big chicken pita box, £8. I mean, more like family at the park with like a food trader van rather than your £13 at a festival where everybody knows what the prices will be or what a fan can expect. So we have this one guy who shows up. His name escapes me right now, but he called it a pig destroyer. Just like a fucking some pork roll thing he done with chips. It was like a £5 as well. So the food prices are pretty good at Damnation. But if I had to pick one that's been very successful, I hope to see year in, year out, will be El Camino.
Nice.
You'll be there this year to try that, won't you?
I'll be there trying it.
Hayden Bins. If you had a time machine to go back and watch a set from your festivals again, which performance would you like to see? There's a question. There's a question. And you get 2 bites at it. You can do Trees and ATG if you want.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll do Trees first, and then you can do Damnation, and I'll do ATG. I mean, there's a very infamous set in 2012. Did you watch Gallows in 2012?
Yes. When they Wade go in and get completely covered in mud.
Yeah.
Yes, I
So
watched that.
so I was watching that, and he so this isn't like I want to go back and see something I didn't see. This is like I want to go back and check that my memory's right, because it was like he it felt like he'd stormed off stage, and I think everyone thought he's gone and he's not coming back. And then suddenly he came back and he was basically wearing nothing apart from his pants, and he was covered head to toe in mud, and he'd just gone out the back of the stage, rolled in a mud pit, and just came back on, and it was like it was the most punk rock thing I've ever seen. It was so cool. And yeah, so I want to transport myself back to
And
then.
see it again. It's weird because I wasn't intending to see that, and I wasn't quite sure how he came to be covered in mud, because I've probably thrown myself a bit to the music, and then next thing you look up, and then the guy just completely. And in my head, I thought he jumped into the crowd, then went into the ground, and then just sort of embraced the madness.
No,
but no, he
he
deliberately
actually
went out the
went
back.
out back. Yeah, and so if you get anyone who's interested, go to YouTube and put like Gallows 2000 Trees, and it comes up, and there's a full video of it, and it's fucking cool. And it's got him talking about it, and it's got him outside, literally with no clothes on, just mud dripping off him. You need a serious pool of mud to cover your entire body in liquid mud. It's great. But actually, I would love to be able to go back to Frank Turner 2007, headlining the first ever 2000 Trees, just to see what it looked like. I feel like over the years, my brain can't quite remember the first year.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool. How about Damnation? What
So I mean, the obvious and boring answer would be going and doing Mariner. But to be honest, I think if you're getting the chance, this scientific chance of jumping in a time machine and filing back down the years, you need to go with something that would never happen again, don't you? You need to go with something that would never happen again. So, 3 bands that kind of honourable mentions, I take any one of the 3. So, way back to 2006, Stamping Ground, that are no longer an active band. Tour, Jelly's Rock World, or the place down the music box, a new one. And it's a sort of Damnation infamy, just how chaotic it was. No barrier, fucking stages the height of your knees. He's ripping the place open. At one point, the guy says, "Well, I've been told by the organisers it's absolutely fine for everyone to come up on stage." So if the place takes 400 people, there's 450 people in there for certain. There's a picture, I think, somewhere one of the organisers trying to hold the speaker stack up as it's getting edged off the tiny wee stage it's there, drum kit's falling to the side, he's caught, somebody's hanging for the fucking rafters. It was just everything I want in a show. Not particularly a show that I'm organising, but definitely everything that I want in a show.
You could get them back together though, right?
Possibly. We'll talk about that off later.
Right.
We'll
25.
talk about
Let's do it.
Aye, I mean that. There's some bands that there's a forever like Mistress.
Have I just predicted your next announcement for 2024 without realizing?
No. Send More Paramedics, Mistress, Stamping Ground, all these kind of bands that are just legends in that sort of scene. There's always that lingering. Oh, would they come back? Would they do another wee show? I mean, I'm sure if somebody ever came with big money and said, right, okay, they'll just come back and do it, they might say, no, we'll never get paid back in the day. It'd be good to get one payment. But ultimately, a lot of these bands would never be worth the big money either. So, Stamping Ground 2006 will forever be one of the answers. Dillinger Escape Plan now fit into that category because Greg is no longer in the band. When they headlined 2010, I don't know if you get what I mean in the sense of no matter how good a performance is at one of your events, you're always distracted. You're always distracted. There's an earpiece in, there's something else. You know what the next problem is on the horizon. You know what, no matter what's happening, even if you're having a good day, you still know that there's a
Right. Well, and also with Greg, you're also thinking I'm going to end up in court here, probably.
Also with Greg, if I wasn't jumping off the side with him, I'd be like,
Yeah.
but and that was some show. I did end up. I don't know if it was topless at the time, but I did end up crowd surfing. It was I loved that, and if that's something you're not going to get, the best option I get now is the reverted to the old lineup with and doing the material that I'm not that fond of, other than 43% burnt. So that's option two, and option three is probably the one I would go for. Bolt Thrower. Of those three bands, Bolt Thrower is death metal's the least favourite of those three types. But just to go back, I was there, I watched it, but again, in a distracted sort of what's next, what's coming, I'm thinking that this is spectacular. We've got Bolt Thrower to do this, but I will get to see Bolt Thrower again, and then the drummer passed away, and then Bolt Thrower are no longer a thing, and then it makes that whole set, that whole moment, even more memorable. And I wish I could see it. I wish I could like go back, and not even a recorded version. It like, just if I had my time machine and go back, I would just go and I'd lap up every second the absolute carnage and how much that meant to not only like Bolt for having that, finally getting the credit they deserve in the UK, but that fan base that finally got a chance to see them. That was a properly special moment, and if I had the time machine, I'd go back and see. That is my answer. I was going to say any of those three, but I'm plumping for the type of music I like least out of all three, but the set I'd like to see most, Bolt Thrower.
Nice. Do you ever get like a sometimes when I book my favorite bands, I end up looking back and the thing I regret the most is that I didn't go and say hello. So I didn't go and say hello to Michael Ackerfeld, who seems like he must be the nicest guy in the world. And so it feels like when you've booked Opeth, you should probably go and say hello to them. And there's a bunch of times when I have, like, so the Wild Arts are a massive band for me, and in my musical upbringing, and I went and just it's not like that you're not suddenly friends, are you? So you're just going to go and say, hey, I organize a festival. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for being here. And I really regret not doing that with Ackerfeld. Do you get that, or do you not?
It's an odd one because I always feel I do meet some, but I always feel that like it's a bit of an imposition on their part. Like here we go, and like at the end of the day, you've paid us to be a set. We're not here to be your pal. And then I always think, because when you meet the bands, 9 times out of 10 they are pretty decent. They are pretty friendly, and it's a bit like, I wonder if you ever get in the band's point of view, if they're like, what, like the promoter's so fucking disinterested, he'll even come and say hello. I mean, he or she won't even like pop their head in and say thanks for playing. So you can actually think it from the artist's point of view. They probably don't give a shit, but there might be some artists a bit like, usually the promoter would come and like make the effort to say hello. And you get some folk like, would I happily get a picture with Jake Bannon? Absolutely, but I don't know, on the day it just doesn't occur to me to go and say, oh, I'm going to chat. And I also feel like the chat with don't do what? I mean, like, hi, I'm Gav. It just feels like such a wanky move. I mean,
it is weird, but you're not talking about Madonna or Axl Rose, are you? You're
no.
talking about, because presumably you like it when people come up and tell you Damnation's their favorite festival, or that your new podcast is fucking great. Because I definitely do, and
You're right.
it is nice to be told that you're good at what you do. And if you're Ginger Wildheart, you're not in the biggest band in the world, and surely it's not. I'm thinking he probably would like to know that he was one of the main, or Michael Ackerfeld is one of the main people that sent me off on this crazy path of weird music.
You're probably right, and I tell you what, it's weird because in 2014, that being the Bolt Thrower year, so we had Becky Laverty, who's now of Roadburn fame, helping with the PR then, and she was making this deal of like, you really need to get in front of some of these people. I mean, you need to like. And this is the time, so there's no podcast back then, so I'm literally unknown. Like dead, like no one knows me even at the Moan Festival. It's like you need to get out here and make. You need to be more of this industry. I know you don't like it, Gavin. I know you don't want to be like, oh, you're my hero, but you need to go and do it. So that year there was a photographer that was there that she was basically instructing, follow Gavin around and get some of these pictures. So of all the years I've done it, that's the year that there's a picture of me with Corpse Grinder at 10 a.m. right, and he's feeding me a bottle of Jack Daniels because he's still drunk for the London show the night before. So there's a picture of me with a bottle of Jack Daniels with Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse. There's a picture with me, the guys for Stamping Ground, the guys with Anil Nathrak, and then after Bolt Throw finish, there's a picture of me downstairs in the dressing room with Bolt Throw, which does the rounds every now and then because everything Bolt Throw related is just this cult, like classic online. So every now and then there's random picture shows up, Bolt Throw Mexico, and it's a picture of the band with me in the middle. With no context of who I am or why I'm there. I'm just fucking this daft class region in the middle, like, yeah, man.
Amazing.
Some fan meet and greet. And they were as pleasant as you could ever hope to expect. And then you go, well, and what are the headliners since then that I've never met any of them. And I mean, it's funny too because when you look back, I love those pictures. I love those. I love that Corpse Grinder on the story behind him coming out the store. And I love we're going to the meeting Bolt Thrower and them giving me more merch that's fucking worth £1,000 an item now. And just, aye, it was great, but it's still, I don't know. I mean, I went out, not that I went out my way to go find Julie Christmas, but Julie Christmas walked into my production office as I was there because she wanted to see what the stage looked like before she went on it, and she was fully kitted out, the fucking makeup on, the whole ready to go mental, and I was like, I am not getting a picture with Julie Christmas sitting fucking ready to go on stage, you know what I mean? And that was my another fanboy moment. I said, don't always ask for pictures with artists, but when I do, they're Julie Christmas, you know what I mean? And aye, so it's not that I love those pictures. I'm like, I wish I'd been more active and going, but on the day, so damnations, I would. My goal is to get to where you are on the day. Like, you're the only responsible when the shit really hits the fan. That's your job. When the fucking lightning's in the sky is when James Scarlett gets involved. I mean, I need to get there. I just slowly but surely, and it's taken me 20 years to get to that point. I'm still dealing with some pretty weird shit, but I'm working towards it. Maybe I can be the guy at Chaps the Door saying, "Any chance of a picture, Michael? Michael, any chance of a picture?"
It's a super nice. Like, sometimes when you meet your heroes, it's a bit disappointing. But like when I'm driving, we're at Trees. I was chatting to Cedric for like half an hour about I don't know what, but it was like a nice adults just having a conversation together. It was like super cool. And I just wish I'd done that with Apeth. But so anyway, we've gone off topic. This is about if you had a time machine. And if I had a time machine.
That's what happens when we start drinking.
Yeah, fucking hell. This is where the podcast goes. We lose all our listeners. If I had a time machine at Arctangent, I would go back to Converge 2017 to find out if it is in fact true that the rain was going sideways, because everyone says it, and I remember it. But could the rain really have gone
catching it?
sideways?
I mean, I know you don't live in Scotland, so I mean, rain. I've seen rain come back up
27 meters.
I've seen rain, James, come back up under your chin. I mean, in Scotland.
But that marquee was 27 meters. The canopy was 27 meters wide. So it's some serious wind to blow rain.
It was so high. See, if you had your normal tents, like your blue tents, there's no way you're getting that low, and then the water's getting blown in there and still going. But it was coming at such an angle, and that was meters high. So
basically, I'm going to use my time machine to go and find out if that's true. and then the other one is Glassjaw 2018. So my son was born on the 28th of August. So Arctangent would have taken place on, I don't know, let's say the 17th. And he was due on the weekend of Arctangent because some seriously good planning. And so I actually missed Glassjaw because I was off-site thinking that my wife was about to give birth. So I want to get a time machine so I can go and find out what Glassjaw was like at Arctangent.
Are they still active? Are they gone again?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, I think they're probably around a bit, but I don't really know. But I would like a time machine to find out about that.
Glassjaw. Glassjaw were one of those bands that I actually enjoyed when it was first all the hype, and then I saw them at Leeds and mid-afternoon set, and it just never clicked. And I was like, right, okay, and I probably just never gave them a chance. Probably clashed with somebody very good at Arctangent that year too, and I just went and
I mean, you weren't sure about them as an Arctangent headliner, were you?
No. Like what I'm saying is like, no, that's no point because it was them, Shellac, and someone else had one year, and it was like my point being is once you're invested to the level you can get invested without tangent, if the three top bands aren't for you,
It doesn't
it's
matter.
not taking
Yeah.
away from your weekend. It's
Yeah.
not taking away from your weekend because I went down there knowing that I wasn't going to check out Shellac, Glassjaw, and whoever the other band were, and I still went in an absolute blinder and
Yeah.
was probably in the tent watching whatever other band there is. I mean, I remember when Hayden first properly discovered Svalbard, I was walking with him to see Explosions in the Sky, and he was like, I'm going to go and check out this band that's getting on this hype. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
went to see
Yeah.
Svalbard, and they were touring playing at the same time. And you're a bit like, there's always a Svalbard if you don't like a headliner, you know what I mean? There's always something there. So, aye,
Absolutely.
that was my point, other than shitting on your headline bookings.
Okay. So, Gav, it's time for you to step up to the stage for Jamie Clark's question. Have either James or Gav made ridiculous purchases in the name of rock and roll festivals? For example, a tour bus. Yes, Gav, I'm intrigued by this story. I get the feeling of a drunken eBay purchase that we all do, but a bus, that's God level. So, Gav, for the people, the Arctangent and Trees crowd, and some of the Damnation people that have never heard this story, can you explain what this is about, please?
Yeah, so I apologise for the folk that have heard this story before, but Jamie clearly has heard it and wants to hear it again. So, yes, for my stag do, did I mention Luke Bell this podcast or the previous podcast? You don't remember. You're fucking two rums in and absolutely steaming. A friend of mine, Luke Bell, who was a tour manager for a bunch of bands, including Machine Head, he organised a tour bus. They had previously had like a Slipknot, Queens of the Stone Age, Biffy Clyro touring it. I mean, like, it was the who's of the shit that must have happened in that tour bus before my friends got on it. And believe me, they tried their best to replicate it. And it was brilliant. But we've done Glasgow, Newcastle, Liverpool, Sheffield. I think it was someone else, but it was a crazy 4 days. And the long story short version is, I was like, why? This is why don't people want to travel like this? This is the way to do it. I mean, who the fuck wants a hotel and a glamping site and this, that, next? I mean, these buses, you go to your bed, you wake up, you're in the next city, you go again. So I bought one. Me and my two of my mates decided we should buy that. And they're not. I bought one. I bought the bus. That was my stag bus. I bought the fucking
bus.
and the actual bus from a company called Why Not down in fucking somewhere near Gloucestershire. I mean, far south anyway. So, and using my contacts that I had in the music industry, we got it booked into Glastonbury. This is for bands using it. Booked into Leeds and Reading, booked into Tea in the Park. Because I would go to the Tea in the Park organisers and I'd say, listen, how expensive is your accommodation for 14 members of your staff? It's like £100 per person per night, maybe even more, because you're in some wee rural bit of Scotland, but everybody's booking them in. Do you need to travel them all back to Glasgow or Edinburgh each night? Like, would you not prefer to take our bus, park it up, and have everything there? You know what I mean? So all the beds are 14 members of staff, and I'm like, you're totally right, boom. So this was happening across all the festivals, summers. Now the buses were getting like £7,000, making £7,000 in over a weekend, and not even moving a mile. You know what I mean? It was like, this is genius. It's really working. Even though that wasn't my original plan. My original plan was getting other stag parties and people in it, and them doing this, going to concerts and getting back to their own city by the time they wake up. And I thought, no, it'd be clever buying another bus. So I bought two. Which was a great idea until you realise the summer season's done, and then you cannot sell this idea at any price to Joe Public. Like, you want me to pay £100 a day to be on a tour bus, but I can get a mega bus for £9. I'm like, I know, but the mega bus didn't come with a hotel room. But the hotel rooms, that's only £29. That's a travel lodge. I'm like, I know, but you wake up the next morning, you'll be back in your home city. So I know, back around that. And that was the argument times a billion. So ultimately, the original business plan didn't work out. And then when the summer festival season stops and there's no more Glastonbury's and there's no more Leeds and Reading, there's no more Tea Parks, now what you've got is a very, very expensive, two very expensive pieces of metal that need serviced every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, they need a full service the way your car does in a year.
Wow.
Because the legislation around it is insane. You need a transport manager who needs his degree in transport management. You need drivers. Bus drivers are the worst humans in the world. Easily the worst humans in the world. And because they know they've got the power over you, they will charge you £300 and move the bus 40 yards because you can't legally move it. You don't even know how to do it. So they hold you to ransom. They use you against other bus companies that because there's not enough of them about. They're fucking terrible, terrible humans. And I feel that. And I was told, Luke Bell, my friend Luke Bell, told me to start this. Gav, we've talked a lot about these things, and you've done well with Damnation, and Damnation is doing. Do not buy a bus. I promise you. The only is that I've worked with every operator in Europe. They're either stinking rich and can afford the losses, or insane and just ignoring the losses. There is no one I've ever met that runs a bus company who is mentally stable, and all drivers are bastards. So you're not going to enjoy this. And I was like, no, people told me this about Damnation, that I could never do Damnation. I'm going to buy two. So, who was right? Me or Luke Bell? Luke Bell. So it just fell by the way. I mean, everything's fucking £750 plus VAT. What's that? Oh, there's a bit of rust in the lock, £750 plus VAT. What's that? The exhaust pipe needs put up £750 plus VAT. And you're like, it just, the fees involved in it. I mean, that original bit of getting the £7,000 for the weekend and feeling like you were going to be super rich, that money disappeared by December because the parking's expensive, your transport manager's expensive, like the servicing, then the bus drivers to get them to the service. It was just, please, if you're listening, anyone out there fancies buying a tour bus, do not do it. Leave it to the professionals.
That's incredible. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that story. I must have missed that episode of Damnation Versus.
And I tell you, like the small, because I tell you, the buses are the greatest thing that ever happened in my life and the worst. Because I also used those buses when I had them to go to Art Tangent, like I was a headline band. Our bus was parked beside Dillinger's Escape Plan's bus, and James kindly powered it. So I would go and watch Dillinger's Escape Plan, and then I would just stroll back to my bus while two of my friends were watching Predator 2 with a fridge that was full of beers, a comfortable bed with air conditioning, and I got up the next day, have a coffee, and then I'd wander back in to say it was incredible. But the truth is, you can't. That's not a lifestyle you can manage unless you're a multi-millionaire. You know what I mean? So.
No, although I've asked you this before on the pod, and you're a bit evasive, so I'm going to ask you again because I know some tour bus companies because of my job. So we were thinking there's like 8 of us coming to Damnation. It's what how many £100 a night in Manchester? We could get a tour bus, and actually that would probably be reasonable. I think Tom Begley's going to book it for me. He might tour manage it, but all he wants to know is, are you going to give us power and a parking space?
How could I say no? How could I say no? I mean,
happy days. Great.
After you gave me that luxury Art Tangent, how could we say no to that? So, but I tell you, it's a life. But what to do? Like, and I don't care how many rums you have in this bus. Do not wake up and say, "Know what I should do?
Buy a bus.
I should buy one of these." It's so wonderful. Everybody would like this experience. So, that is my buy into bus story.
Good. I love it. Have you got a question for us?
I've got I'm moving on. Glenn Baxter. God, that was a wee trip down memory lane.
Did you feel stressed by that?
This relates to the layout Art Tangent. You had a big change in 22 for the site layout. I assume it was because of capacity. How much thought goes into the feel of a festival when it comes to planning? Is it all based in crowd numbers, logistics, technical reasons, or is there thought on the feel? And brackets, I liked the new VIP camping, but I didn't like the new main arena. Felt it lost some charm.
Wow. Good question, Glenn. I mean, I think we were never 100% satisfied with the previous layout of Arctangent. I feel like we never nailed it. We never got it quite right. There are basically two things competing here. One is the punters' experience, and the other one is the logistics of running a festival. And it was never quite right for either of those things. And I felt like the stages were probably further apart than they needed to be. And there was lots of like dead space, and it made a busy festival look empty. So that's one thing. But actually, here's the thing that no one really knows about is that there are three things at Arctangent that happened. One is there is what is politely known as the shit pipe, which is there is a lake right by where you camp, Gav, which is all the Arctangent toilet waste goes into this. It's a really clever reed bed system that so the farm way before festivals, the farm uses it to clean its cow slurry and toilet and its household toilet waste. And basically these reeds just purify the water. So now all of Arctangent's toilet waste goes into that. But obviously at some point there is the shit pipe and it is buried under the ground, right? So you cannot put anything near the shit pipe, because if you put a marquee, if the yokai stage big massive metal tent peg goes through the shit pipe, it's pressurized shit, right? So that's going everywhere and your festival's fucked. So that's one thing. The other thing, if you were to look up in the old days in the old fields, there were power lines coming through those fields, which, you know, are only about 5 meters above the ground, and they're like, you can't put marquees near them. You have to have a sort of 18-meter gap, I think it is. You can't put scaffolding near them. You can't put traders near them. People are going to get electrocuted and die. And then the third thing was Bristol Water came and put in a new water main, nothing to do with the festival or the farm. They put in a new water main and they dug up a load of the farm and then put this water main in. Anyone who goes in the campsite, you can see where it is. It goes through both of the main campsites. And basically, we were doing our site plan. It's like, oh no, you can't go there because you're going to hit the power line. Let's move it there. And it's like, no, that's the shit pipe. And then it's like, we'll move the yokai stage there. And it's like, it's on the fucking water main. And basically, the whole site was ending up being totally controlled by those three things. And you couldn't quite fit everything in. And I give the credit, all the credit is all to Simon. He was like, let's just start again. This is a big farm. Let's just go to some new fields. So we totally ripped it up and started again. And it took loads of time to do. And, you know, Glenn's point, he says, I like the new VIP camping, but I don't like the new main arena. It felt like it lost some charm. I mean, frankly, if he thinks that, then that is a valid thing. Is it true? I don't know. I think logistically, the new site is amazing for us from a production perspective, from getting people in perspective, and how the festival runs in a much more smooth and efficient way. It's like way better. And what is the number one most important thing at Arctangent? And I think the number one most important thing is that you can get to see as many bands as you want. You can get from band to band to band to band. And the new site layout, I think, is amazing for that.
Yeah.
So has it lost charm? Maybe. I can't quite.
Only again, I think again with that romanticism of the whole, you get the arc that's something you don't normally see. So then you associate that with Arctangent. Isn't that hill, and how many the great sets did you see when you were kind of sitting that hill and your tent was 10 feet? I mean, bits like that. And I get it, when you go into Arctangent now, it looks more like a generic festival. Flat across, big blue tents, things quite close together than it did. So I understand that part, but the bonuses so far outweigh whatever you thought was there. Like you remember, first that fucking arc, when it rained, it became a swamp, didn't it? It was an absolute fucking swamp. There was nothing romantic about being ankle deep in fucking mud and then saying, right, okay, we need to go back across the UK, which is now a cross country run through this wee pinch point with a fence in the middle. And I understand his point, and you're right, it's valid if he believes it because it's valid to him. But I mean, I was at one last year, the year before, I just had a day where I was just wandering between stages, wee bit of Respire, a wee bit of Ithaca, a wee bit of the next. I just felt like I was catching band after band after band. Like a friend walked in and I felt like I caught 8 bands in the space of 2 hours. And I was like, this is fucking incredible. I mean, my only complaint really about the new site is there is a bit of bleed because everything's so close and you can get in the stages so easily that there's a bit of bleed with the noise. But again, if you're in a tent and the band's playing, if you're seeing who you want to see, the bleed isn't a big issue either.
No, so we had bleed in 22, and the bleed in 23 was massively reduced because we moved stuff, and we're like one of his things he says in his question was how much thought goes into the feel of a festival when it comes to planning, and I'm like, fuck me, it's like
All of it.
central. It's like I think about it so much. I'm walking around Arctangent when it's live with an iPhone note constantly open that I'm just jotting down thoughts on. I'm like, that we did that wrong, we did that wrong. And it's all little tweaks. And the bleed is the sound bleed is a hard one because I've just said to you the most important thing is the stages are close to each other. So there's some like middle ground, I think.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem comes when it's like Emma Ruth Rundle's playing a piano and some other band is like fucking making an absolute racket.
Aye.
And so that's tricky. And I'm like, frankly, there's a lot of thought goes into it. Everyone's got an opinion, and we're doing our best. I don't know, yeah, and
Aye.
we'll tweak it every year.
And I've seen some. I mean, you talk about bleed. I'm talking about the fucking gush of blood. I mean, like tsunami of sound coming over. I was a download once, and it was a Jaeger stage beside this other stage. And basically, two bands were just playing right into each other. And if one band went quiet, all you could hear is the other band. So it's not like, I mean, right up to your Hellfest and that as well. You're always hearing noise from other stages when
Yeah,
quiet bands are playing and there's something else big in the other stage. That's that's an unfortunate part of major outdoor festivals with major sound systems. You know what I mean? You're going to get a wee bit of sound bleed, but I see where the guys come from because that conversation's the same thing happens with Damnation in Leeds, isn't it? It's like fucking
yeah.
hell. And for every problem we had in Leeds, somebody will always go, lost a wee bit of its charm though, didn't it? I'm like, I my fucking charm's queuing for 2 days to get in a room, then it's lost all its charm.
They're good pasties in that supermarket, though.
And good pasties.
Um,
Aye.
yeah, it really did. Okay, so David Long says, top 3 bands you've ever seen live. If you're like me, this is near impossible to quantify, but for fun, go for it. So let's not think this through
We'll
too
go one
hard.
for one.
Let's just go for
Go
it.
for one.
Okay.
You can't think this through, because the guy's probably answered his own point. Like, you think about this for an hour, your 3 answers change
Yeah.
continuously, and then you're
Trust me,
going to
mate.
argue with yourself in an hour's time about the
Yeah.
answers because you're still wrong. So one that always stands out to me: Nine Inch Nails in Glasgow. I think it's about 2006, 2007. They've done 2 nights in the Bounce. I went to both, and then one of their nights was all they never play sets like this. I mean, like they played We're in This Together, which I don't think they ever fucking play. It was all their hits. It was all the everything you saw on Scuzz and MTV2, all their bangers finished with Hut. The night after, when I told somebody how great the show was, it came in, it was all their B-sides. And no Hut and no We're in This Together. And that was great as well. If you're really into Nine Inch Nails, that was a treat to see both of them. But aye, the first night when they done it, just seemed like it was anthem after anthem. That definitely has to be up there on the top 3. Give me one.
Amazing. I'm going London Astoria 2003 for the Mars Volta debut album tour. I knew them because they were in At the Drive-In. I had the album and I was just starting to be like, fuck me, this is the best thing ever. And like the London Astoria was 2,000 people, but we were right at the front, like 3 rows back. And I was just watching Omar play guitar like he was Jimmy Page, and it was fucking like the absolute most amazing thing ever.
Is that one of those ones for you? You're like, no, that is a cast iron number one. You know that. You get asked that question any time and any day. You're saying the Mars Volta at Astoria. You know that's like, I could change my mind about Nine Inch Nails in an hour's time. Are you like, I already know that Mars Volta
Well, I
one is.
think because I'm always really dubious about people having like cool I was at a cool gig. What was your first band? I was really into Nirvana. Oh, like Mudhoney was my favorite band. They were my first band. I'm like, what the fuck? I wasn't cool. I listened to loads of stuff that I'm embarrassed by. And like early gigs, it's great if you were like, oh, I saw the Beatles on their first tour. Mostly you just don't, do you? No one does. You
Can
just
I
don't
quickly
see it.
interject? And I don't always want to seem cooler than you. It's just the way that it's panning out. My first ever metal gig was Charger, Raging Speedhorn, and Amen at the Glasgow Cows. That's a pretty fucking cool first gig.
Mate, there's some tumbleweed rolling through the room right now.
Yes. Yeah, I like Drunk James. Let's go. Come at me, son. Right. But that gig didn't make my top three. I think this one's based in feeling. I've seen Cult Owner a billion times. Seen Cult Owner play my festival. Seen Cult Owner do Mariner at my festival. Hellfest 2008, for whatever reason, that particular Cult Owner set at midnight in a tent, crammed, just felt like the best music I'd ever heard in my life at the best moment. It was just like I had a party atmosphere. I was with friends. I'd been looking forward to it all weekend. I was in that tent and Cult Owner absolutely smashed it. And I just loved it. And I couldn't tell you anything about that set that was particularly any different from any other Cult Owner set I've ever seen in all the years I've seen Cult Owner. But it was just something about the feeling in that tent and just like, oh my God, this is the music I love. This is my jam. And
Yeah,
that particular set was a standout.
amazing. My second one is Queens of Stone Age, Birmingham Academy. I think early 2000s. They were they were just they were either just before the third album had been released or it was just out. So I went back and looked at the set list on setlist.com, and it's like, if you want a Queens of Stone Age set list and it's made up of their first three albums, it is fucking wild. It's like, I can't even believe and that they played a set list like that. And it's quite a small venue. And I don't know, there must have been, I don't actually know what the cap is, but I feel like there was about 1,000, 1,500 people there. We were down the front and just, they were so like tight and like, they're real musos, aren't they? So even when they've got big, they're still just some mates jamming on stage. And it was just like so fucking great. So amazing. They were so good. And like, I looking at the set list, there's just like literally no songs you take out. It's just all the hits, all the
Aye.
bangers, all the like deep cuts. Just brilliant. Great. Amazing.
And to prove that I don't always need to act cool, and it's not that I was there first. My last one, I'm going to go with a wee bit of recency bias, and again on feeling the National at Connect Festival 2022. So there you are, not hipster central, but middle class, fucking central. Everybody there with a £9 glass of rosé, and you've done your day, and you've had a wee bit of Little Sims, and your bit of Mogwai and a bit of Idlewild and the National come on. Spent the entire day with my wife. It was a sunny day in Edinburgh. We'd been in the comedy tent for a bit. We'd seen some fucking spoken word or poetry. It'd just been one of those days. It was that type of festival. And the National came on. And I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I only in the last few years I've really got into them. And then I finally seen them live. And I'd never seen a live video before, never really investigated too much, just listened to the music. And the guy, I think his name Matt. The singer's name's Matt. He's a fucking tortured genius. And I mean, like when he comes on, I didn't realize when he plays live, he's going through it again. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
him like struggling with the lyrics. He's doing it. And I was like, that just everything about the day leading up to that, and then when it was there, and then being there, with my wife at the time, the 2 years being there, I was like, this is spectacular. And for all the different reasons from Nine Inch Nails and Cult Owner, just like this guy, you're watching this artist go through it live on stage when really it could have been another Billy Corgan up there just doing it because he needs a wage at the end of the month. You know what I mean? It was like I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Everything about the setting and the day leading up to it. Again, one of those ones that's about the feeling. You ask me this
Yeah.
question tomorrow. I doubt that the National's going to be on there. but there's a wee bit of recency bias, and it being so jarringly different from most of the things that I think. I'm usually in pupil slicer show and a hugging pint with some sweaty fucking mosher beside me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nice just to, after a nice day at this posh festival with your wife, getting to finally see the National. So, aye, loved it.
Amazing. So my last one is 1992. I was 14 years old, Birmingham NEC, and basically I've never been to see a rock band before, and um, the band is they're called Extreme. You may know them from the hit song More Than Words.
I
But,
know the name, but I said he's hit me with an Iron Maiden or a Metallica here. There's no way he's no getting an Iron Maiden or Metallica. An Extreme.
mate, I nearly went Iron Maiden and Metallica. You know me well. But basically, I'd never seen a rock gig before. And although if you listen with 2024 it is pretty cheesy. They've got very, very loud guitars and lots of fucking crazy guitar solos and shit. And basically it blew my 14-year-old mind. And like I said before, everyone else is like, oh, my first gig was shellac. And I'm like, well, my first gig was Extreme. And it was cheesy as hell. But it was literally, you can trace my love of Opeth and fucking every like horrible thing I recommend on the record on this podcast back to getting into heavy guitars through Extreme, and that gig was amazing. So yeah,
I feel if I'm going to sit here and try to take the plaudits for my first metal gig being Charger, Amen, and Raging Speedhorn, I should admit that my first actual gig was Natalie Imbruglia at the
wow.
Barons, which was still a banger. Yeah, I'll have nothing said about Torn Right. It was a banger. And then my
It was one banger.
It was a one banger. And it turns out I later found it wasn't even her fucking song, it was a cover. My second gig was Radiohead at Glasgow Green, before that third one being the Raging Speedhorn and Amen show. So
Radiohead second gig is good.
Radiohead's second gig was good, and I tell you that was back when Radiohead were still good, and then know the plodding misery they've become. So that was.
You just lost 50% of our listeners. Well done, Gav.
So, brilliant. I fucking love Radiohead, one of my favourite bands, but still, come on, some of the more recent albums have been pretty forgettable. So, where are we? I feel like your drink's hitting into.
You've dug in with the Radiohead criticism. That's where we are. I gave you a chance to step away.
Yourself. James, I've done this long enough now. Do not give me extra rope, mate. Matthew David, how did you come up with the names of your festival? There's a wee easy one to tackle. How did you come up with the names of your festival, James?
I mean, I want this to be the last time I ever have to answer this question, because I really love Arctangent as a name.
Did you not pick these questions though? Like, you literally picked these?
Yeah, and it's so that I never have to answer it again. This is like the definitive answer. So 2000 Trees, I was going through a particularly environmental sort of militant phase of my life where I'd like given up flying and you know, basically was just everyone that like did something that I didn't agree with environmentally, I would fucking chew them out in the pub about it. And so 2000 Trees was like a green thing. That was basically, the truth is, it was about like pushing some environmental message, which I obviously still believe in, but I don't really want it attached to my fucking festival name. It's really annoying. So there you go. I never tell the truth about that. When I get asked that in interviews, I don't ever tell the truth.
What's the answer you normally give in interviews? What's the answer?
There is I don't know.
There's lots of trees on the site.
Yeah. It's basically, there's always some sort of, I kind of allude to it without ever really answering it. But it was like it was a green message that we were trying to. It was quite a naive thing, I think. But now everyone just calls it Trees, and it's like just transcended the name, you know.
Aye.
I always think shit band names, if you're a good band, everyone forgets. I mean, Metallica, Oasis, The Beatles, all shit names. It doesn't matter. And, you know, 2000 Trees. So, and
would you ever, have you ever been tempted to rebrand it Trees?
Well, we kind of have, like, the logo says Trees, it doesn't say 2000 Trees.
Right.
So we kind of have rebranded it, but not. We haven't actually. We haven't changed the name, but a lot of the branding says trees. So, and that was cool.
And somebody else owns a URL for trees.com and
Yeah,
trees.com.
but the audience kind of the audience did that. That everyone started calling it trees. It wasn't
Yeah.
us. We never called it trees. I think we called it ATG, and that Arctangent became ATG, and I think that was probably us. But trees was just like the audience just started calling it trees.
Decided.
Yeah,
Aye.
yeah. And Arctangent, I think we talked about it here before. We got all our albums out, read them all, and we're like, let's steal a Mars Volta name. Let's steal a. Actually, I feel like that was a private conversation between me and you. That wasn't on here, was it?
No, we were on another podcast as
Yeah.
guests, and with because I tell you what, I thought we told a story on here that was pretty good. That we told someone else. Like, we need to find a way to jam that into our episode.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Sorry, everybody.
It was
We
actually
did another interview.
it was actually marketing about Let Live, and Let Live coming out and saying, "Oh, like get in touch with us," and us like explain that as a fucking total marketing ploy, and ultimately everyone behind the scenes already knows what's going on. So, aye, that's the short version now. Whenever that podcast comes out, listen to it.
Yeah. So basically, Arctangent was like, let's find a cool name. We literally sat down with all of our albums and went through song names and band names, and we were just trying to nick something off Earth Tone 9 or the Mars Volta or whoever. And the short answer is the word arctangent sounded good, so we chose it, and I'm still super happy with it. So
It's weirdly fitting. It's weirdly fitting. I mean, it does really like because that's an odd name. Because let's face it, festival names are shit. Festival names are shit. I mean, like we were in the same spot. But like this is so we were what doing. It came off the download forums, and we were joking about it. We were like, "Oh, Pit in the Park, right? A play on Tea in the Park was for the mosh pit." And
yeah,
like, oh, well, so that was a working title for a bit was Pit in the Park. And then we realised that we will never try to do an outdoor festival to start with anyway. And then it went down the all these festivals we got. It was like purgatory, obliteration, like for just stupid fucking generic words that you're just ultimately a lot of festivals probably end up with the name of the town, the city, and that because there isn't really that many good names knocking around.
yeah,
And then this woman who had the avatar Evil Cat, and wherever you are, Evil Cat, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to Damnation ever since, or if you're even into metal anymore. But if anyone knows who Evil Cat is, she's welcome to a guest pass to come to this year's Damnation because she just came out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. But then Purgatory, Obliteration, Grind Your Face Festival, and all these fucking shite names that everyone else has got to be. She went, what about Damnation? I was like, man, some fucking. I mean, literally the second it was posted, I was like, surely there's like 10 festivals called Damnation. It's a fucking perfect festival name for this kind of thing. Like, that's why, like, Cradle of Filth and fucking Opeth have used it as album names. It's like, Damnation. That fucking it rolls off the tongue. It does what it says. Damnation. It's fucking.
yeah.
And can we get that URL? Yes, we can. Okay, Damnation it is. Fucking
Amazing.
so that's how Damnation. And I honestly think it's the fucking best festival name going. I love it. I absolutely fucking love the name Damnation. So, sorry, and I didn't mean to actually start that chat. I keep forgetting we're actually on a podcast. I don't mean to be shitting on other festival names, but festival names are usually pretty fucking shite. To be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty hard to name a band or a festival, I think. So, yeah.
Aye,
Okay.
exactly.
So are we digging in?
We're not taking it. We're done. We're done with that.
We're going.
You can ask a question. You can ask a
We
question.
go. No, what I meant by are we digging in? Are we going? We're going more. We're going.
Oh, I want more. I thought
going
you
more.
meant, do I want to go and insult more festivals?
No, no, but I would love you to. So James Clay says, would you ever reduce the number of bands or close a stage for the day to free up the budget for that dream headliner? So, I mean, I got quite a short answer to this. I often think that we've gone too big at 2000 Trees and a little bit Arctangent. Like the perfect number of stages at Arctangent is probably 4. So I'm basically the 5 is a total like unnecessary like extravagance, right? And at 2000 Trees, there are, I mean, there's like 6 stages. And again, you could probably do it with 4, right? So there are extravagances. Now, the extravagance of Trees with the forest seems like a big part of the festival. So that's probably not true. But because I mean, some of my business partners are listening to this, but I like booking bands, right? And I get very excited about bands. So of course I want more stages. You could say if you add up the power, the marquee, the sound, the crew, one extra stage is like tens of thousands, even if it's a small stage.
Yep.
Even if it's like if at Arctangent, the elephant stage, or 2000 Trees, the new stage, you know that they cost tens of thousands, and so it's a bit of an. I think it is extravagant to have those stages, really, and this is why we've got more bands playing at Trees than even the festival like Downloader's got. It's weird, but you know, I'm like, we're a music festival. We want to book bands, don't we? So fuck it, let's book some bands.
Have you forgot what the question was? A guy's asking you about a dream headliner.
No, he's saying, would you reduce the number of bands or close a stage? I think you forgot.
I know,
I
but
think you've
to
forgotten.
accomplish something like you've just went off on a fucking mad tangent about closing a stage. Surely it's about would you close a stage and reduce the amount of bands so you can get a dream headliner?
Okay, short answer, no.
This is the final drunk episode we're doing, by the way. This is going
I'm
to Joe.
sober.
This
Are
is
you
going
drunk?
to fucking Joe Rogan territory.
Gav, would you reduce the number of bands or
I
close
don't
the
think
stage?
reducing the number of bands would not make it because ultimately you could book a band who's midway up the second or third stage of Damnation and cost you $3,000, right? And you could remove that band and you could go and book 10 bands at 300. So reducing the amount of bands is neither here nor there when it actually comes to the budget. And ultimately, what is the dream headliner for that for whatever you want Damnation to be? All those bands we talked about before. It's not even a dream, it's just like the other bands like Emperor, Clutch, Meshuggah.
Machine Head.
She did.
That's my dream.
So
Machine Head playing the Blackening. Damnation. Lovely.
surely Through the Ashes of Empire is the
No,
one.
no, no, no.
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 The Black everybody gave up Machine Head by the Blackening. No one
Mate.
listened to the Blackening.
Fucking hell, mate. You are drunk.
Through the Ashes of Empire is the one that starts with Imperium and finishes with a tune, as you know, like Through the Ashes of Empire. Like that's a good album.
Mate, basically, The Blackening, I think, is one of the best metal albums ever written. And Burn My Eyes is also one of the best metal albums ever written.
My Eyes is good, but that's the obvious choice. And also, you don't get to pick what's the best. Like, you promote post-rock and fucking indie pop, right? You don't get to tell the listeners are two promoters, one pod about metal albums.
No, I do. Well, I think we've established now that you're into indie. You go home and listen to indie, and I go home and listen to metal, and neither of us put on festivals that cater to what we listen to.
That is too true. That is far too true. That's on point. Aye, so right. Aye, so the fuck Machine Head, right? We're not talking about Machine Head. We're talking about would we close a stage? Right, so we wouldn't close a stage for that. But the bands, there is no dream in the sense because if you're talking about Deftones and fucking Nine Inch Nails and A Perfect Circle, that just becomes, even though those bands could realistically play a 6,000 capacity arena in Manchester, of course they could, it becomes a Deftones plus support gig. And you put Damnation's next year's headliners Deftones, we put tickets to sale and do 4,000 tickets in a day, if not more, because they play arenas, don't they? So you could sell it out, and then what? You've got 6,000 Deftone fans.
Yeah.
Then what happens when you book Abduction and We Lost the Sea and whoever else in it? Like, they're not getting any fan base. Then your festival's dead, innit? All right, okay, you've made a couple $100,000 because Deftones sold you all the tickets, but then what? Like, you've just sold them to Deftones fans that are likely not going to come back in 2026 because they were only there to see Deftones. So,
and that is the problem, isn't it?
yes,
With going big,
You can go too big, and I had that fear really with Opeth, and it didn't work at that year. The Opeth are one of those bands that does peaks and troughs. If you get Opeth in one of these years that like they're the flavour of the year, you probably would do 3,000 plus tickets for Leeds, and you could have a situation where you had an Opeth plus. Opeth fans, Damnation, and Opeth fans would probably still have enough about them that could come in and watch other bands. I'm not saying it's not the same as just going for Nine Inch Nails, but you can definitely get in a situation where you book a band. This is a difficult way to do it. To sell the amount of tickets we're trying to sell, the way we're doing it's a difficult way, because what you could do is just take your budget and definitely go and book a band that was 100% going to sell you the amount of tickets you want to sell, but then you no longer have a festival. You've just got a tour date.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky.
You see, that was very concise for a man with
It's
a
good.
few pints and a glass of
It's
wine.
good. It's good. Do you want to do more questions, or do you want to do on the record? You're in charge of our timing?
Right, let's finish off with John Gandy then. And then, because this is a quick one, just related to me, let's take it in. Gav, how much of a clusterfuck were the Leeds fire alarms from a backstage organisational perspective? Were you at any of the damnations that had a fire alarm?
Mate, I think I was, but I've never been in the room when there was a fire alarm going off. It's weird. I have no. I was definitely at a damnation where that happened, but
Did you see
I've never
Moll?
actually.
Did you see Moll at damnation? Were you the Danish band MOL?
Yeah. No, I don't remember them.
Because
I mean, I know them, but
that was what. So in it's a weird one. So it started in 2017. For the years we've been there, and the one was Paul Bearer were playing, and the big joke, it was the sound guy, for whatever reason, he told me in the podcast, but he was in speedos, just in speedos doing the sound. And then the fire alarm, so the house lights came on, and this guy's waving a bit of fucking jumper trying to tell the band that like it's a show stop, and he's in speedos for fucking it was something to do with a bet or something. I had the guy Joseph for Paul Bearer on Damnation University. He explained that it was something to do with a bet, and he was going to do it when the end of the tour. And that was the first one, but that was the very end. In fact, when the noise was happening, people were thinking it was like the fucking just a bit of.
and what is it? The smoke machines?
So it was like it was overpowering the when it was 3-4 stages live at the time, and there was too many of them using smoke machines. It was just overpowering whatever the system was, and the venue could not get on top of it. Never did get on top of it. Like by the time we were done in 2021, when so it happened in 2017, 18, 19, and then 2021. By 2021, they didn't even tell people to leave the venue. They were like, they knew it was going to happen. Then when it happened, they just made sure that the fucking place wasn't on fire, and rather than just have everyone else go back out. But it's a major pain in the ass, because that first year when it happened was okay, because it was very end. Paul Bearer, 15 minutes out, 50 minutes back in, we managed to catch the day up. But it happened right in the middle of Mall and Cancer playing the main stage. And Cancer were like, we've got our 3 banners still to play. Like, we've been looking forward to this. Like, and know what you said the last time about like the stage times are king? It's like trying to tell a band like, no, we want to play. We haven't even had our set. We've just had like a song and a half. And they're a bit like, right, okay, but try and fucking keep up. We'll try and catch it up at the and we did get caught back up a bit. But that was a difficult one that made it really tough that day. 2019. I mean, that day was a fucking shit show behind the scenes anyway, with Mayhem and Opeth. Just because the goods elevator broke down and we had to load in through the front, and the whole thing was just, the whole day was just behind the scenes car crash. Front of house pretty good, but behind the scenes car crash. And then when that fire alarm went, at that point I was being the meltdown. Like, I don't even care. I don't even care. I mean, like, I'm so done with this festival and everything about it that fucking, I hope the fire alarm goes for the rest of the time. And I'm done. I don't want to ever come back. Me and Fro were so bossed by the end of that night. We never want to see. We never spoke to each other like 2 months, because we just couldn't face even mentioning Damnation. And then in 2021, as I said, they never even the alarm went. I think they silenced it. Like, just fucking. And this was the most health and safety fucking militant venue ever been. I mean, they took when that guy for the Ocean jumped off the balcony, they tried to shut the festival down. I mean, they were not for fucking about. Leeds University Union, they take health and safety unbelievably strict. And they got to the point with that final, I'm like, just shut the fucking thing up, because it just goes every time somebody sets off a smoke machine. So that's how that ended.
I want to hear that story on another episode. That feels like a lessons learned part 2, the ocean story.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
Yeah,
that mental note for lessons learned
done.
part 2. So yes, I don't know if that was a short one or a long one. I am a little tipsy at this point. I've had a good laugh doing this. I hope when we listen
Yeah.
back, it's not a fucking rambling mess. But
No. Do we do on the record on the Q&A, or do we not?
we have done. We have done. Was Lou's Brews was the whole sort of. Do we give him a plug? This is his plug. This is your drunken plug. Your sausages are great, mate. Love eating them. Other people should eat them. Pod 15, lou'sbrews.co.uk. There's your plug.
Amazing.
Get, get,
I'm going to go on
give
the
it on the
record
record. Fuck it.
while you work out what yours is, because you haven't prepped one. Have you prepped
I
one?
haven't, but I've got one now.
Okay, great. Mine is the St. Pierre Snake Invasion. Feel like they need a plug because their record galore from last year is fucking amazing. And Gav should book them for Damnation. It was my fourth favorite album of last year. They are fucking great. The album is a weird departure from what they did before. I think they're quite hard to like categorize. It's basically alternative rock, which means absolutely nothing. They're just like a weird band doing their own thing, sounding like they want to sound
Do you think?
in
Do you think
a
they're listening to the
genreless way.
podcast? Do you think they're listening to the podcast?
Um, I don't know actually. I think Damien.
He won't.
No,
He
no,
definitely. There's no way that
because
he's
he's a
got
prick.
electricity in his house.
Um,
There's no chance. He's got a Wi-Fi or any sort of connection.
I think Paddy's listening. Damien's not. That's my guess. Anyway, but look, the album's fucking brilliant. Everyone should go and listen to it. They should be way more popular than they are. And I don't have a song, just the album's called
Don't
Galore.
worry, James. I'll go and listen to the full album and pick a song for you, all right?
Thanks, mate.
And
Appreciate
the
it.
reason I was asking is like because St. Pierre Snake Invasion played the Damnation stage at Arctangent 1, and we got Parley with Damien, the singer. And I just always recall him finding out my auntie's favourite band was Biffy Clyro, and him coming on stage. And if your favourite band is Biffy Clyro, then your favourite band is shit. And fucking sing that all. And it just like, it was a quality moment. They've always been one of those bands that I thought, oh fuck, I'd love to. Because to me, and my ear isn't trained in this world yet, but how is it that much different from your idols and slaves that became soft play and those bands where you had that sort of almost punky frontman doing alternative rock over some good music, you know what I mean? So aye, that's why I asked about that, because
I think for their early stuff, that's probably a fair comment. But this is like something
different now.
you should listen to this album.
I will.
This album is I don't know. I don't really know where you place it, and that might be their problem. But that's great. Also, this is
It's
like
not easy.
they're
It's
just
not
like
easy to get.
out on their own, doing their own fucking thing, which is pretty cool.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, and also weirdly, how did you know that I didn't have one prepared for on the record?
Because I saw it in your eyes. I could see your eyes twitching. It's like the panic when I said, "Are we doing on the record?"
Wait, we're getting too close. We're getting too close
Yeah,
to this
it's
fucking
good.
podcast. You can tell by the look in my eyes that I don't have an on the record prepared. Fortunately for me, I've always got an ace up my sleeve when it comes to Miss Julie Christmas. So Mariner was already recommended, and then we done Battle of Mice, which you previously fronted. So this is very bang on the money now. She has finally got a new album coming out. I don't know if the album's called Supernatural, but the song is called Supernatural. It's amazing, obviously. As James says, like to describe her as a demented pixie, that is not an insult. It's a compliment. Other people describe her as a metal Bjork. You will see her main stage this year at Art Tangent. I feel like the crowd's going to be so much more tuned into it now that they've done Roadburn and they've done Damnation, and I feel like a lot of it will surprise her. What is it? What is it they kind of do? Do they play Mariner tunes? Is it Battle of Mice? Is it Made Up of Babies? It's going to be a lot of the soul stuff that you will have heard by the time that Art Tangent happens as well. It's going to be a great set. So my pick is Supernatural by Julie Christmas.
Amazing. Going to be good. That right? It's going to be good.
It's going to be very good. That run on the Thursday night. And I was thinking, because we're going to do that Tangent podcast on the Friday morning, so we're going to have that run of bands for the night before. That's going to be brilliant. I want to hear for everybody. And also, James and I spoke before we started this podcast and the litre of rum that he's sank, and we thought about how we were going to manage the podcasts at 2000 Trees and Art Tangent, because there needs to be audience interaction. That's the whole point of doing them live. So we're going to have all the chat about whatever festival we're at, but we also want audience interaction. So if we were to put a mic at the front of the barrier, would you come up and ask a question? Or would you need it to be passed about to you? Because when you do the whole pass about the mic thing, it can get a bit clumsy and awkward and you're all over the place. And is it you? Was you asking, especially if it becomes a busy tent, it can be very difficult. Would you go up and do a question? If you wouldn't, then please let us know now, because we're going to have a very silent podcast.
Yeah, or just tell us what you want us to talk about.
I'll just tell us what you want us to talk about. James.
Amazing.
Let's do it. Aye, let's do the next few sober. But I did enjoy that a lot. Good man. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Take it easy.